Anytime you're ready.
Hey, Cardinal fans. Mitchell Swanson. I'm here with Coach Rivers. It's the Wednesday before the Bayside game, kind of a big game every year. Coach, thank you for joining us. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
We just finished the Jamboree game against Alma Bryant. What did you hope to accomplish out of the game? And did the team reach the goals that you set for them in that game?
Yeah, we went into that game, and I think when we talked last, we talked about, no pre-snap penalties, eliminating those self-inflicted errors, get some of those first game, jitters and kinks out, first time ever being on campus, which we were excited about, and then come out of the game uninjured, So we did some of those, I think we came out uninjured for the most part. I think we got some kinks and jitters out. But we did have some penalties. We weren't necessarily in great rhythm on offense, which is okay. That's why you play that game. So hopefully we got some of those out of our system. And it's also hard when you're not game planning. You just go out and call plays. We didn't have anything wired for that particular defense, and that's not an excuse. Just it wasn't. You could tell it wasn't a normal game, which it wasn't. But I thought all in all, defensively, anytime you get a shutout through 4 quarters of any game, it's good. And our defense did a nice job of really shutting them down the whole night. But I thought all in all, it was a good. We got out of it what we needed to, which was, and I think the players have been great about acknowledging, hey, what mistakes did we make, and how can we get a week better this week, which is what we've tried to focus on. Is focus on us. And so yeah, it was good. It was awesome to be on campus. Look forward to in a couple of weeks when we'll host John Carroll in a regular season game.
Yes, sir. We saw the varsity perform well, and they performed pretty consistently. During their half of play, did the JV have similar goals for their half, and did any JV players manage to impress the coaching staff and maybe get in that varsity rotation?
I thought the JV guys stepped in there and kind of kept it going. It was 14-0 at halftime. It ends 30-0, so similar in terms of score, in terms of a half, get a safety, with a snap over the head. So, it's a good young group. I think it's important as the program continues to grow to have a strong JV group, to have freshmen and young guys and all the way up. Freshmen, 10th graders, juniors that are right there on the cusp that that you can throw in at any moment and play in a varsity game. And I like where the development is with those guys. They get 6 JV games, but they're always up. Everybody's dressed on Friday night at any opportunity. An injury happens, or a guy you can count on can go in there and help, and play a play or two when a guy's tired. So I thought they did a nice job. They've had a good summer and a good spring, and so it'll be fun to see them continue to develop throughout the season.
Now, Coach, moving to Bayside this Friday, they've had significant changes with their players. A lot of key players left. How do you prepare for Bayside and rather than seasons past, having all these players and these changes?
Yeah, no, they have. They've lost some key players. You lost some really good players. They still have some really good players there. So I'm sure they've approached it like every school would. When you lose a few, as you say, next man up, and what are we going to do about it? We're still going to carry on. So I'm sure Coach Trotter and those guys have done that throughout the summer as they've lost a few guys. And the first game is always a little bit weird, because while the same coaching staff, so you would expect maybe similar schemes on both sides of the ball. We're similar schemes, both sides of the ball, same coaching staff. You don't have any tape to go off of this year. So there's no rule that says they couldn't have changed their whole offensive system all summer and their whole defensive system, and we get out there on Friday night and they're in something totally different. Yes. And if they are, our preparation and our practice from all summer long would have to come into practice right there and come into play there. And we would adjust on the fly and go by our rules and our calls that we have for any defense that lines up or any offense formation. So we do have a plan, and we're preparing for a similar Bayside to what we've seen the last couple of years, particularly last year. But again, we'll see as the game unfolds and react as we go.
Yes, sir. Now moving to the running game, Martin Cordy, senior, he was great for us. Now he's gone. Is the running back position still an open fight, or will we expect, kind of just one main guy carrying the ball all season?
Yeah, well, I always think you got to have more than one running back. You never know with injuries, and you never know, and you can't just wear one guy out. I think Noah Moss has been the lead guy all summer long, all camp long. I would look to him to kind of be the the lead dog in that regard. But you throw in Kamar J. Lavoie, you throw in Nick Russo as well. I would expect those guys to contribute in the run game. And a little bit of how we've always rolled is kind of who has the hot hand. There's been games where whoever's kind of hot just keeps rolling. And so I wouldn't call it necessarily running back by committee, because you're going to see Nick Russo playing linebacker. You're going to see Kamar J. playing corner. You're going to see you're going to see all those guys throughout the season as it goes, and we're going to need all of them to carry it and carry it well for us.
Yes, sir. Now, moving to the receiver corps, your brother, Coach Legit, he has the luxury of kind of having almost the same receiving corps, having one senior on that receiving corps that left. All the work they put in this offseason, will you open up the passing game to kind of help the rushing attack develop, or how does having this season's receiving corps affect your kind of game planning?
Yeah, we try to always be balanced. The teams that, you look at every level. The teams that make the deep runs in the postseason, the team that wins down the stretch, you got to be able to run the ball. So we try to be balanced. I think last year when it all was said and done, we were probably 57% pass, 43% run. Mm-hmm. So somewhere in that range. I don't think you ever want to be over 60 in either one, ideally. And some of it's game to game. There were games last year where we threw it 50 times, and then there were games where I think back to Escambia County where Noah had 30-something carries.
Yes,
so it kind of depends. But speaking of that receiver corps, it is a deep group. It's a deep group. There's only one football.
Mm-hmm.
You remind those guys, there's only one ball. But you think of Brody and Tucker, obviously, as kind of the top two guys, and then you throw in Brody Sella and Braden Smith as well, Cooper Kurth there at tight end. So when you think of those, those five guys, there's five guys that can all do something with it and can be impactful in the passing game. So we're very multiple in that regard, formations and how guys can work in and out.
Yes, sir. Now, looking at the defense, how did the defense look at you or look to you last game after reviewing Friday's film?
I thought they played well. I mean, again, anytime you don't give up a point, anytime you shut somebody out, you had a good night. I do think Alma Bryant was extremely vanilla. They had some problems with the snap, and so that gave us some advantageous, down in distances. But take nothing away from our D. Obviously, they flew around and got after them. I only think they crossed midfield once. So we know the reality of teams are going to get first downs. We're probably not going to shut out every team we play this year, but I like the way our defense is flying around. I like most, I think, and you heard this all summer. They're communicating. The way they're communicating is much better. That's continued to get better each and every year. I think back to 2021 to where we are now. The way the defense is communicating and in cohesion on the back end there in the secondary and at linebacker, it's really improved.
Yes, sir. Now, one final question for you, Coach. What is your personal preparation for a game like this? First game of the season. What advice will you give to the players, and what kind of advice will you give them about the first game kind of jitters?
Yeah, well, I think it's normal. I think for me personally, when it got to really after Alma Bryant, even over the weekend, but when it got to Monday, it just felt different. Just felt different knowing that it was game week and it was a game that counts. I think some of those jitters are good. I think they're good. I don't think you need to try to suppress them or be like, oh gosh, why am I a little bit nervous? I think those are good butterflies. They just got to be tempered, and then you got to cut it loose. I've always felt like when the game gets going, for me, it was always the time between warm-ups and when I came in. Was the time I was most nervous. I was like, man, if they would have just blown the whistle during warm-ups, I'd have been in great shape.
Yes, sir.
But I think the biggest thing for our guys is to keep their poise. A first game, you're playing against a team across town that a lot of you guys know one another. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be keeping our poise. It's okay if it's a little bit of a chippy contest in terms of it should be exciting. It's fun to play teams in the same town essentially. Guys that you see around town and that you guys know or buddies with or cousins with. But at the same time, we have to protect the team and play with poise and be smart and then have it fun and cut it loose. I think you never want to play in a first game to try to protect something or to hang on to something. Just go cut it loose and play play for 4 quarters and look up and see where it falls at the end.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Coach. This has been Mitchell Swanson and Coach Rivers from the Wild Cardinal Network. St. Michael, defend us.